Have you ever thought about how the deepest spiritual ideas could be shared, not through dry, complicated texts, but through a series of absolutely incredible divine adventures? Well, that's exactly the idea behind the story we're exploring today from Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is a modern take on the ancient Srimad Bhagavatam. We're about to jump into the amazing life of one of spirituality's most fascinating figures. Right off the bat, you can tell this isn't your average biography. The book introduces Krishna not just as some figure from history, but as the Supreme Being himself. His whole life unfolds as the series of divine events, or pastimes, and each one is meant to show us a different side of who he is and just pull us into his world. So, a really important question is, why did this divine being even need to show up on Earth in the first place? Well, the story kicks off on a planet that's really struggling. It's overburdened by corrupt, atheistic rulers who've built up these massive armies. According to the text, Krishna's whole mission is to relieve that burden and bring back the principles of a good and righteous life. And this is where the story gets really dramatic. See, this isn't a tale of a divine being born into some fancy palace. No. Krishna's first appearance in the world is inside a stone prison cell. The book explains that his parents, Vasudeva and Devaki, were locked up by Devaki's own brother, a tyrannical king named Kamsa. Kamsa is completely terrified by this prophecy, and his reaction is just shockingly brutal. He throws his own sister and her husband in prison, and then, one by one, as they have children, he murders their newborn sons. So the stage is set for this epic showdown between unimaginable cruelty and a prophesied divine birth. So to escape this unbelievable danger, the newborn Krishna is smuggled across a raging river and taken to the quiet, peaceful village of Vrindavana. He's hidden away among cowherds, raised by his foster parents, Nanda and Yashoda, and his life seems totally idyllic. But this very ordinary village is about to start seeing some very extraordinary things. It doesn't take long for Kamsa's assassins to track him down, even in Vrindavana. One of the scariest is this demoness, Pudana. She disguises herself as a beautiful woman and tries to feed the infant Krishna poisoned milk. But in this absolutely stunning twist, as Krishna drinks, he doesn't just drain the milk, he drains her entire life force, revealing his incredible divine power when no one expected it. And we see his role as a protector on this massive scale when he goes up against the heavenly king, Indra. Indra gets furious that the villagers are worshiping Krishna instead of him, so he unleashes this biblical-level storm to wipe them all out. So what does the young Krishna do? He just casually lifts an entire mountain, Govardhana Hill, and holds it up like a giant umbrella, saving everyone without even breaking a sweat. But you know, Krishna's power isn't just about physical strength and protection. He has a totally different kind of power, the power of divine love. And this brings us to one of the most famous and deeply symbolic parts of his story, his relationship with the cowherd maidens of the village, the gopis. Now, to really get this part of the story, it's so important to see how the book itself explains it. This is not being presented as some kind of worldly love affair. The Rasa dance is shown as this profound spiritual metaphor. It's an expression of the soul's deepest, most intense longing to connect with divine. The way it's described is just beautiful. On these cool, moonlit nights, Krishna would wander into the forest and just start playing his flute. The text says the sound, the vibration of his flute was so enchanting it would completely capture the hearts of the gopis. They would just drop everything, their chores, their families, and run to the forest to find him and dance with him. Okay, this is where it gets really, really interesting, because the book itself tells you why these stories are so important. It basically argues that the main driving force in our material world is attraction, right? Especially romantic attraction. So what this text does is it takes that same powerful impulse and it redirects it. It suggests that just by hearing these divine stories, it acts like a kind of medicine, purifying our desires and lifting them up to a spiritual level. As Krishna gets older, that idyllic life of herding cows and playing a flute in the forest starts to fade into the background. His greater destiny is calling. The time finally comes for him to leave Vrindavana and go face the tyrant who's been trying to kill him since the moment he was born. This slide just captures that huge shift in his identity perfectly, doesn't it? He leaves the forests he grew up in and heads to the city of Mathura. And there, he defeats Kamsa's greatest champions. He finally slays the tyrant himself,
and he frees the parents he's never even known. The cowherd boy is gone. In his place is a prince, and he is ready to claim his destiny.
After dealing with some other powerful kings, Krishna establishes his very own kingdom. It's this fortress city built right in the middle of the sea called Dwaraka. And the way the book describes it, it sounds incredible. A glowing, perfectly planned city full of beautiful gardens and temples and palaces just dripping with jewels. And from here, he ruled as a powerful king, getting involved in complex politics and managing the affairs of state.
So how in the world do we make sense of this incredible journey? From a prison cell to a simple village to a golden city at sea. The book gives us this one single powerful idea that ties it all together.
This one word, Leela, is the key to the whole story. Every single thing that happens, killing a demon when he was a baby, lifting a mountain, dancing in the forest, ruling a kingdom, none of it is described as something he had to do. It's all a divine play, a Leela. These are all transcendental activities that he performs for his own enjoyment, and maybe most importantly, to attract us, the conditioned souls, back to a spiritual reality.
This really gets to the heart of what this book is trying to do. It's tapping into our natural love for a good story, stories of heroes, of romance, of adventure, but it's taking all of that and elevating it to a transcendental level. The ultimate idea is that by really immersing ourselves in this divine story, our own consciousness can be lifted, offering us a path to real spiritual freedom.
And so we're left with this really powerful thought that these stories aren't just myths, they're a form of medicine for the soul. It really makes you wonder, in our fast-paced modern world, can these ancient narratives still offer us the kind of healing and connection that they promise? Thanks for joining me for this explainer.